My husband was diagnosed with CPTSD.
Yep.
He went to therapy. He fell in love with his therapist. She fell in love with him.
Hold on. How'd this happen? What happened?
He went to therapy, and over time, they both had a connection. There was no therapy actually done in the 4 months he was seeing her.
What's going on? What's going on? This is John with the Dr. John Delony Show talking about your marriage, your mental health, your relationships, your interaction with other human beings. And if you're like most of us, that has gotten harder and harder and harder the more we are being asked to interface with shiny digital boxes instead of real people. And that makes learning and remembering how to do relationships hard, scary, and fraught with all kind of pitfalls. And that's what this show's about. I'll sit with real people going through real challenges, and we'll figure out what's the next right move. If you want to be on the show, give me a buzz at 1-844-693-3291. That's 1-844-693-3291, or go to johndeloney.com/ask. And real quick, it is the solar eclipse today. And so this is being recorded like a month from, like you'll hear this a month after the eclipse. So if we don't make it, if all the conspiracy theorists are correct, this will be the last beacon sent out into space. But I have a feeling that we're going to be just fine. All right, let's go out to New Haven, Connecticut, and talk to Kathleen. What's up, Kathleen?
Hi, John. Thank you for taking my call.
Of course. Thank you for calling.
My husband was diagnosed with CPTSD.
Yep.
He went to therapy. He fell in love with his therapist. She fell in love with him. And then it was pulled from underneath her because it got too, relationship. You can't do that with a therapist.
No. Hold on. How'd this happen? What happened?
He went to therapy, and over time, they both just had a connection. There was no therapy actually done in the 4 months he was seeing her. So how do I cope with his CPTSD that he was diagnosed with years ago, and the fact that he fell in love with his therapist, and he, to this day, head over heels, like it was like a bad breakup. Like he talks about her in his sleep. Like,
oh man, what a mess on several fronts. How did this relationship come to light?
It was pulled, like she wasn't a fully licensed. She had a supervisor, and they pulled it out from her.
So the supervisor, caught it.
Yeah, and she had feelings for him. There was flirting going on, and there was joking, and he said there was really, once you look back on it, he goes, there was really no therapy, but he fell hard for her.
Have you talked with the supervisor?
I have not.
I don't believe his story. I do believe, like, the number one no-no in all of therapy is don't have intimate or physical or any kind of relationship. The therapist I see now, if I was to see her in a grocery store, and we talked about this at the first meeting, I would have to say hi to her first. She'll walk right by me.
Oh, yeah.
Because the anonymity is the cornerstone. You can't do it without that level of trust. And therapy is intimate and vulnerable. And you say things out loud that you've never told anybody else. And if somebody's a good listener and a warm, receptive person, then yeah, it's easy to get all tangled up in feelings, but that's the therapist's job, right? To hold that distance. Clearly, that may not have happened here. But there's something that's not ringing true with the story. And what I would do if there's a part 2 to this, which is how to deal with his infatuation with her. But I would request a meeting with, tell him he wants to meet with the supervisor and request that you come along.
Okay.
And ask to hear the whole story from the supervisor's perspective, because there's something I'm not buying it. Do clients sleep with their therapist? Absolutely. The therapists lose their license all the time for that? Absolutely. So does it happen? Yes. But this idea that there was no therapy and she was just, there's something I'm not buying.
Okay.
It sounds like I'm completely making up a story here, okay? It feels like that he may have had a great relationship or great interaction with her, or felt comfortable talking to her in a way that he does not feel comfortable talking to you.
Yep.
And depending on what his TSD is or what it roots from, he might take the feeling of comfort as a feeling of intimacy and love that he does not have with you. So a good therapist would say, hey, the way they practice that interaction so he can take that home to you. And then if you are cold or hard or mean to him or whatever, or exhausted or tired, or then y'all go to therapy together to practice that interaction together.
Okay. Yep.
But I almost wonder if he is coming up with a story to give him the ability to create distance with you because he doesn't have the courage to say he's not okay in this relationship right now. Is that plausible?
Okay, I never thought of it like that.
I can't imagine that the supervisor would not have called him in for a meeting, talked through all the things that happened, sent him directly to another therapist, gone through he would have all that stuff.
Yeah.
And for him just to say like, no, we called it, I'm not, there's something, it's just fishy.
Yeah.
One of my supervisors was on the board of one of the licensure agencies. It's just not how I hear it work. I could be completely wrong, Kathleen. Okay, something's fishy. You have to go through him, but I would get in touch with the supervisor, and so you can hear the story, get the full picture of what's going on here. Part 2 is none of that really matters. What matters is your husband has told you he's infatuated, in love, has feelings for somebody else. That's what you have to deal with. All this other stuff is a distraction.
Yeah.
How? Why? Was it at work? Was it my therapist? Was it the lifeguard? Was it somebody at a restaurant? Like, doesn't matter. Your husband's looked at you and said, I have feelings for somebody else, not you.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that.
That's tough. I mean, we've been together 16 years, married 13. He says if it was outside of therapy, it wouldn't have happened because he went in looking for help and he became vulnerable because therapy. Mm-hmm. But I don't know how to deal with that.
Well, make no mistake. It's a both and here. He's a grown man who makes choices. And if his story is 100% true, which it might be, he was absolutely taken advantage of.
Yep.
So both things are true. And you can find yourself talking to a therapist. And so one of the things I would teach my grad students is you may have to ask about like a common question when you're talking about marriage issues. How often are y'all intimate? How often do y'all sleep together? I asked that question on this show, right? But I'm asking for data. I'm asking for a data point. I don't take the next question, which is, so how is it? See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What's your favorite positions? What's your favorite moves? What's your favorite, what are things she doesn't like? Oh, I would love that. See what I'm saying? Now we're in a totally different relationship.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And so I can imagine a guy with complex PTSD who is trying to figure out how to his nervous system to feel safe enough to do relationships. I can imagine him just answering the questions before him, and you get a voyeuristic grad student who just drags him underwater. I could see that happening.
Yeah.
And also, the moment he says, I'm in love with her, is the moment as a grown man he has to say, I don't know what kind of relationship this is, but it's too far. So it's both and, right? Yeah. What I'm more concerned about is the aftermath, because he has continued. He doesn't see her anymore. Is that correct?
Correct.
Does he not text her, call her, email her?
Nothing.
Are you certain?
As far as I know, yes.
What does that mean?
I mean, he says he's not, but...
Yeah, that works out good.
And he's talking to another therapist about it.
Okay. So, do you want to stay married to this guy?
I do.
Does he know that?
Yes.
Does he want to stay married to you?
Not sure.
Okay. You need to get an answer to that question.
I've asked him, and he said he's not sure because he doesn't know who he is, because he's trying to figure out who he is.
Yeah, that's nonsense. That's nonsense. We only find out who we actually are in relationship. That other stuff is postmodern nonsense. Like, I got to find me, and you just wait here patiently while I find me. That's stupid. He can only truly find himself when he's anchored into you. Y'all been married for 15 or 16. I mean, y'all been together for 16 years.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. We have a daughter together.
Of course. So let me say this. He may be all twisted up. What's his PTSD from?
His mom, his dad wasn't really around, and when he did see his dad, there was a lot of drugs paraphernalia around. His mother was here, but not really here. He had to fend for himself and do things on his own, even from a young age.
Okay, but that's not sexual abuse, or I mean, that's trauma. That's not good, but that's not. Yeah, I'm just gonna be honest with you, Kathleen. There's a part of the story that just doesn't. The puzzle pieces aren't fitting together.
Okay.
I don't know that he's telling you the truth.
Okay.
And beyond that, you have to own reality, right? You have to choose reality. You can want to stay married to him. You can want to love him. And if he doesn't want to stay married to you, he can do that.
Yeah.
And that's not the world you chose. That's not the world you want. But if you want to heal this marriage, you have to get in the mud with him and help him rebuild. Because y'all got to build something new.
Yep.
But you have to it takes both of you to do it.
Okay.
Here's how I would start that conversation. I would actually take him out. And maybe you want to go on the expedition with talking to his original therapist and yada, yada, yada. That seems to be a secondary matter here. The real issue is you don't trust him, but you do love him. And you want to be sensitive to his whatever diagnostics he has. But also he needs to be a grown man and treat you with dignity and respect. You're his wife, for God's sakes. And any anger or rage you have that comes out on him that makes the house cold, you got to deal with that from you, right?
Yep.
Do you get angry? You get frustrated? Do you get mad?
Sometimes, yeah. But
Sometimes.
Sometimes. We had we've been together, but we really haven't been together because for the last 10 years we've been together, but he's been so cold and put walls up because when he gets close to somebody, he puts walls up, and that's a whole nother intro of our marriage.
Have y'all gone to marriage counseling together?
No.
Okay, y'all need to do that ASAP.
Okay.
I think your marriage is on life support and you don't even know it. I actually wonder if your marriage is over and y'all just haven't called it yet.
Okay.
It sounds like he left you a long time ago. He just sleeps in the same bed still.
Yep.
And as a part of the healing process, the regaining trust process, when somebody says, I've been unfaithful to you, I have stepped out on you, etc., it's very common to say, okay, part of the rebuilding trust is hand me your phone. I want to see your emails. I want to see your phone.
Okay. Yep.
And if there's no text message to this person, he's not back and forth, still in a relationship with this person, yada, 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 then great.
Yeah.
And if he says, you can't ever see my phone, no chance, then you need to let him know, if that's one of your stipulations, then you're not interested in saving this marriage. He's opting out.
Yeah. Okay.
Does that scare you to death?
Yes. 100%.
I wonder how long you've been avoiding that fear. And at the same time, you've kind of buried a big chunk of yourself.
Yeah.
Over the last 10 years.
Yeah.
I say this all the time on the show, probably too much, but behavior is a language. What's he telling you for the last decade?
Yeah.
What is it?
That you're not here, that you don't want this.
No, use his words. What is he telling you through his actions over the last 10 years?
Nothing, because he puts up walls and he just get up, we go to work, nothing.
Okay. Are you done living like that?
Yeah.
Let him know. I want to see you fight for your marriage. And it might be a fight that you get knocked out. You might lose the fight, but I want to at least see you get in there in the ring and go for it. Take him out and say, hey, Not for the last 10 years, you've been cold, you've been... No, I'm not going to do that because he's just going to build those walls back up and he's going to be gone. You'll never be able to touch him. But if you sit down and say, I want more for my life, I love you, I want you to be my husband, and I want to be together, but I can't keep doing this. I want to build something brand new. I want to start dating again. I want to fall back in love with each other. Are you in? And he might look at you and say no. But the whole, I don't know, I just got to find myself, bull crap on a stick with a pony and a box of farts. It's just not a thing. I just get it, and whatever. As somebody who watched way too much Dawson's Creek, and I loved Dawson's Creek back in the day, but it's too much. Turn the lights off, turn the music off, stop the dance, and just say, hey, we got to talk. We got to figure out what next steps are. And hopefully he'll be a person of courage and integrity and tell you the truth. Either way. I wish you guys the best, Kathleen. We'll be right back. I am super grateful for my Hallow app. I listen to it almost every single day, and I'm not an app guy. If you ever listen to this show, you know I'm not a cell phone guy, but I love Hallow. Hallow is the #1 prayer and meditation app in the world. Hallow has 10,000 plus audio guided prayers and meditations, including meditations and prayers and daily psalms, amazing speakers, some of the greatest speakers and celebrities and athletes on the planet, you name it, they are on the app. And there are prayers and meditations for mental health, including meditations to help people who are struggling with addictions, wounds, stress, anxiety, infertility, recovery, grief, and more. There's even an entire section for kids, including Bible stories and meditations to teach kids how to slow down and be present. And this is kids of all ages. I especially love the meditative music. Lo-fi, man. I'm a huge lo-fi fan, and their music is amazing on the Hallow app. I write to it, I read to it. It's incredible. If you're looking to find out what this whole faith thing is about and you don't know where to begin, or if you've been wandering down this faith journey for a long time and you want to go deeper, check out my go-to app, Hallow. And Hallow is taking care of you as a listener of the Dr. John Delony Show. You get 3 free months of Hallow. That's everything included by going to hallow.com/Delony. That's 3 free months of the app at Hallow, HALLOW.com/Delony. All right, we're back. Hey, real quick, my favorite health and fitness podcast is by far my buddies, Doug, Justin, Adam, and even Sal, the great guys at Mind Pump. The hosts communicate fitness, health, and fat loss, all the things that we've wondered about, and all of the nonsense we've been told for years and years and years and years and years. These are guys I call personally. I pick up my cell phone and call them personally when I'm working through a particular issue or I have a negative mindset around health, fitness, nutrition, or I just can't figure out the answer. These guys are the best. They've been working with people for well over 2 decades. They're former personal trainers who built businesses, who then got sick of the industry and said, this is hurting people more than it's helping people. We're changing everything. And by the way, they're hilarious. They're fun to listen to. They got some good conspiracy. It's a great listen. And as Kelly will say, they're all smoke shows, right? So go check out Mind Pump at mindpumppodcast.com. All right, let's roll out to Amanda in Fort Worth, Texas. What's up, Amanda? Yeehaw!
Hello, Dr. John. How are you?
Partying. What are you up to?
Oh, I'm just kind of taking a break from the work day, waiting on the solar eclipse about to happen.
It's not real. The Bigfoots are coming out, and the Earth's going to get re-flatter. I don't know what's happening. Jeez Louise. Never mind. I could go down a rabbit hole. All right, so what's up?
So a little over a year ago, my husband and I had a pretty unfortunate accident, totally a freak thing that happened. My dogs happened to be wrestling in our utility room, and my husband was outside the house, and he heard that, and he barged through the door as I was leaning down to grab a dog, and it ended up, I had a very large laceration to my head from the doorknob handle.
Oh!
I know.
What if he hit you in the face?
Yeah, it was in my face. It was across my forehead. 12 stitches, and it went down to the skull, severed nerves, severed muscles. It was very traumatic. I have since healed mostly. It did leave me with quite a bit of nerve damage, though, and that comes in the form of several nerve shocks a day. Most of them happen towards the end of the day.
Those hurt.
And so my big concern is my husband, who I absolutely have never laid a single ounce of blame on this situation. Obviously, though, he as a man has taken on a lot of responsibility from that incident. And how can I help him work through that? Because, these nerve pains, they're kind of a part of my life now. And I can see when he sees me in pain, like how, just wrought with guilt he is.
What a wild situation, man.
So wild.
And by the way, this is just totally an aside, but is there any chance you want to produce a podcast? Because someone who is as kind as forgiving as you versus Kelly would be amazing.
I love him unconditionally. And no, we are very, we're very simple people. So.
All right. Well, I tried. Okay, so you're not going to like my answer. Here's my answer. You can't help him. He has to decide that he is not going to carry this around as some sort of entry point into intimacy and relationship with you.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's super frustrating for you. Can I be kind of gross about it? He is taking your pain and making it his now as a way to try to level the field.
That's how I feel like the situation is. Like it, like when it all happened, and he's not a good person in with blood and all of this, and he really was such a trooper. And I know we live in kind of a smaller rural area, and I know if we didn't go to our rural hospital, that I'm sure there would have been police involved, and that would have just caused even more trauma to the situation. I mean, he obviously is very regretful over it. Again, we couldn't have staged it to happen any more perfectly, as terrible of a word as that is for the situation, but we couldn't have made it happen that way, as bad as it ended up.
So I think, yeah, you said that. I thought of a couple of jokes I'm not going to make, but yeah, I can imagine you going to him driving you to a rural hospital. It'd be a very different experience than if you were to not. Okay,
it really was. Yeah.
Jeez. All right. Here's what I would say with you. How long ago was this?
A little over a year ago.
Okay.
So in January of last year.
All right. So we are past the 1-year anniversary of the great door in the face incident. I think you should name it. That'd be incredible. Y'all should have like a thing for it every year where he has to, for one day, put like a laceration makeup on his forehead and we'll just walk around town. That'd be awesome. Here's the deal. I would take him out and say, we're going to talk about the time you hit me in the face with a doorknob. And then I want you to be pretty direct with him and say, your refusal to accept my forgiveness hurts me. And it feels as though you would rather wallow in shame than accept my forgiveness, and you and I continue building an amazing marriage together. Because that's what he's doing.
Yeah.
He's choosing to say, woe is me, look at me too. And there's not a look at him. I mean, yeah, of course he feels guilt. I would feel terrible. Do you have a big scar on your forehead?
I do. And most people are like, oh, I don't see it. But, of course, when I look in the mirror, I see it every day. But again, none of it is a resent towards him. It's just, oh, man, that stinks. That's really how I choose to live my life. And, even with the nerve shocks, they just, it's a quick, 2 seconds across my head, sitting on the couch watching TV, I'll twinge my face for a second. And then I just continue on with my conversations. I just don't even miss a beat anymore because it's such a
Can they ablaze that? Or
part of my
what's the
life
word?
now.
Can they, is it ablation? Can they do an ablation on them to burn off the
It's
ends?
the trigeminal nerve in my face, so they couldn't do it.
You'd look like you had a stroke all the time. Yeah, jeez Louise, what a mess. Okay, so, I would hand him a journal and say, this is the last discussion we're going to have about this. And I want him to write down in the journal whenever he feels guilty, when he sees you from across the room and he gets that feeling in his gut. And you come out, you don't have any makeup on, and you got a big scar across your head, and it's in the morning sunlight, and he just feels that, ugh. And it reminds him of all the blood, and you screaming, and the dogs barking, all that stuff. And then driving to the ER and him thinking he's going to get arrested, all the stuff. His job is to pull out that journal and write down the thought or feeling he has And then to write on the other side, is this true? I'm a
Yeah.
terrible husband that I did this to my wife. No, I'm not. I'm not.
Yeah.
We had an accident, and she's forgiven me. My wife is always going to hate me for this. She's not. My wife looks like Frankenstein. No, she doesn't. Like, my wife is always going to be in pain because I'm such a terrible... No, that's not true. Did you hit her with a door? Yes, it is. Do you know the difference between guilt and shame?
Mm-hmm.
It's this idea of, I was talking about bricks in a backpack. So when he hit you in the face with a door, imagine you handed him a cinder block and said,
Yeah.
you have to carry this for a minute because you hit me in the face with a door. That's guilt. That's good. It's not a bad thing. He'll come indoors slower next time, right? You learn from guilt. Guilt is a good teacher. But then somewhere along the way, you forgave him and said, it's a freak accident. They happen. I was on the end of the receiving end of this thing. I'm so sorry. I love you. You're my husband. We're going to get through this together. Thank you for whatever. And then he decided to take that brick and stick it in his backpack and carry it around forever. That's shame. It's not, I did something stupid or I did something accidental or I hurt my wife on accident. It is, I'm somebody who hurts their wife. I'm somebody who disfigured his, like, that's who I am. That's my personality. That's my identity now. And it's bullcrap. And he's choosing to carry that. Even though you've said, stop carrying that. So I want you to call him out. This is not your pain to carry and make this all about you. This isn't your story. This is my story. I'm the one that got hit in the face with a doorknob. And I forgive you. And your refusal to accept my forgiveness hurts. I'd like you to end that now. And you are going to have to deal with your feelings for a season, for a year, 2, 3 more years, the guilt. That's fine. That's part of life. But I want you to carry this journal around and write these things down. And I want you to challenge those thoughts about I don't love you, about how this is always going to be this way, about how you're a bad guy because you're not. And any choice to dwell on the negative stuff is a choice to be miserable. It's a choice to call me a liar. And here's my promise. If you will practice working on those automatic thoughts, those automatic pictures of, like, he's just sitting there, he sees you, he sees that scar, his body remembers all the blood. He can pull that notebook out, write it down. I almost killed my wife. Is that true? No, it's not true. I'm a terrible husband. No, I'm not terrible. And over time, you'll change your body's default setting to where you don't instantly default to the thing. You'll default to joy, optimism, happiness, the thing that you practice. Look how beautiful she is. Can you imagine having a wife so amazing that she forgives like that? That holds no anger, rage, or anything like that. And then I do like the idea of every year on the anniversary of the great, I hit my wife in the face with a doorknob incident. I would love him to put some makeup on and just go to Walmart. That'd be awesome. But at the end of the day, he's the one who's got to decide, I'm not going to carry this anymore. You can't free him from it. You've tried. You can't free it from him. He's making it a part of his identity and he has to stop. I'm going to send you a copy of my #1 best-selling book, Own Your Past, Change Your Future. It talks about those stories, how they happen, how people tell us events happen like this, trauma happens, and a step-by-step process on how to change those thoughts from constant negative, constant worry, constant shame to something that is more productive, something that's more relational, something that's more vulnerable, something that is more productive moving down the road. So hang on the line here. I'm going to hook you up, and that'll be my gift. Appreciate you. I'm glad, man, you're an amazing sport. I hope that if somebody does that to me one day, hurts me someday, that I will have the attitude you have. You're pretty amazing. Thanks for the call, Amanda. We'll be right back. This episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. Winter is finally leaving the premises. There's more light, there's more beauty, the flowers and the birds are out. And sometimes when we're surrounded by things that everyone else says we should be so happy for, and it's all so wonderful, and yet we look in the mirror, we don't feel it. And we know that we should be feeling full of energy and excitement, and we should be getting it all done, getting all our work done, connecting deeply in our relationships, dreaming about the future. Our social battery should be full, but maybe it's not. Maybe things still feel heavy, like a long winter hangover. I'm hearing from people all over the world that people are facing and experiencing so many challenges, and everyone's social battery is pretty low. And of course, it's easy to get on your little phone and just scroll and pick up a bunch of influencer hacks, but maybe you don't need another hack. Maybe you need to talk to someone, especially someone who's trained to listen, trained to walk with you, and help you build self-awareness and create an action plan for what you can do next so that you can recharge your social battery to a full charge. If you are stuck, it might be time to sit with a good friend or a mentor that you trust, or it might be time to try therapy. And I've had seasons in my life where talking to a therapist has made all the difference, and it might make a difference for you. And if you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, and it's designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited for your schedule. You just fill out a brief questionnaire, you get matched with a licensed therapist, and you can switch therapists at any time, and they don't charge you anything extra. Visit BetterHelp.com/Delony today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Delony. All right, we're back. Let's go out to Des Moines, Iowa, and talk to Francis. What's up, Francis?
I'm glad you got the name right the second.
Of course. How are you?
Pronunciation. I'm good. I'm super nervous.
Don't be nervous. You're good. You're good.
Yeah. I just want to let you know it's truly a pleasure to watch you help people. I really appreciate what it is that you do.
If you could send me a quick email that actually tells me what it is that I do, because I'm still trying to figure that part out. I feel like I talk on the phone for a living. No, hey, thank you so much. That means the world to me. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
All right, so how can I help you? What's up?
Okay, so I have a couple of questions. One is, when is a good time to tell someone that you're dating you have cancer? Had cancer. And then two, what steps should I avoid in the future, dating-wise, to avoid the mistakes that I've made in the past?
Those seem like two really disparate, like very different answers. Are they? I mean, I'm sorry, different questions. Tell me about cancer.
So I was diagnosed in 2022. I ended up with 6 months of chemo, double mastectomy, radiation, more chemo. Finished the chemo last year and did reconstructive surgery last winter. So,
have you exhaled yet?
I exhaled after I had my first follow-up appointment. That was a big exhale, and everything was clear.
Are you at 3 months still, or are you up to 6 months now?
6 months.
Okay.
Yep.
Everything looks good? Everybody's optimistic?
Yep.
That's amazing.
Yep.
Now, how long have you believed that you were the problem?
A long time.
A long time.
And I had anxiety before I got cancer, but then cancer was like,
of course you did.
My beer.
Well, I mean, it's just what your body will do. I mean, have you thought you were something wrong with you your whole life?
Yeah.
How deep-seated is that?
Pretty deep.
Like, it's bedrock for you. Who in the world told you that nonsense?
I think it was more my parents weren't around.
Okay.
At all.
Did you experience any sort of abuse as a kid?
I don't think abuse, but my dad left to work out of state, and I had a really hard time with that.
Sure.
He would go away for months, and then my mom took second shift job, so my siblings and I were all alone.
Okay.
And then my older sister that took care of us, she was also bulimic, and she would take us out on her binge runs and then purge.
Yeah.
So it was almost like I didn't want to bother anybody.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Exactly. And you bottled every bit of that up.
Yeah.
Now, people who are listening want to know how I got there so fast. Here's how the first question you ask me is, when I'm dating somebody, when do I tell them I had cancer? For your whole life, you've been leading with the worst thing. You feel like you have to get it all out on the table, all the bad stuff about you, because you're so unlovable. No one would ever want to be around you. And then your second question was, how do I keep making the same mistakes over again? My guess is you self-sabotage and burn relationships as they're going, just so they don't crash. Is that true?
I'm either super anxious with somebody I'm really into, or I'm not like super into somebody, and it's more calm, if that makes sense. But
yeah, totally.
I also was reading a book about attachment styles, and obviously I'm anxious, but I had that happen with my dad, and he was never really there for me. When I asked him his opinion, he said he wouldn't give it to me. He wanted me to make my own decisions. He didn't want to influence them. So I just stopped going to him with anything because he wouldn't help. So I got married really young because my husband was super in a secure like family. His dad was like my dad. He was awesome. I could go to him with anything. But things changed so much. He ended up switching personalities almost and started talking about killing people. And I asked him to stop. He said it was normal. All of his friends did it. And then I was like, I went to a counselor and she's like, that is not normal. And you need to get out of there.
Yeah, good for you. How long ago was that?
I left in 2006.
Okay. How long did you blame yourself for it? Your bad judgment? How long did you blame yourself for that?
Oh. Well, I always feel like I could have done something different. I could have reacted stronger sooner.
Somehow you made that your fault too. A guy talking about murdering people. You figured out a way to make that about that you screwed something up. And then so I'm coming to this, and this is going to be a sensitive conversation. Is that okay if we go here?
Yeah.
Okay. Breast cancer, the C word's scary.
It is.
The double mastectomy is disfiguring. And I know I've sat with multiple women who've experienced that, and there's such a profound loss. Not just of the actual body part, but of this identity, this femininity, like all this stuff that feels like it just left, right? Yeah. And then you've got scars. Nobody talks about the scars, right?
Yeah. There's so many scars.
That's right.
And you already have lumps and bumps. You had scars on top of it and numbness.
Right.
You're not the same person. You're not.
You are, but it feels different. And in a twisted, weird way, this cancer confirmed the things you've thought about yourself since you were a little girl. And it's not true. And now you're terrified of having a great dinner, falling in love, and feeling like you have some big, deep, dark secret to share. Like there's somehow, like something's broken in you. And there's not. You beat cancer.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
Yeah.
Do you make a lot of jokes about it and lead with it all the time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't have to pull chin hairs out when you're doing chemo.
That's a great joke, actually.
I know.
That's a good joke.
I'm going to do mentoring.
Okay.
Of fellow breast cancer survivors.
And
for people going through breast cancer.
That's a way you can find meaning as on the back end of the grief. That's beautiful. It's amazing. But you have to give your body some grace. Your dad took off. His job was more important than you. And that's not there are veterans who go away for a year and come back and their daughters know that they are loved because daddy never unplugged, right?
Yeah.
They got a letter in the mailbox once or twice a week. They got FaceTime. They got lectures, like just dumb dad lectures because dads can't shut up like me. And like they knew they were loved. So it's not about dad had to go work. It's about dad chose job over you.
Yeah.
mom had to keep everything together.
Fighting.
Yes, of course. It's chaos.
He ended up having an affair.
Of course.
Like divorced.
And I promise you don't know the extent of that interaction with him and your mom.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
Lots of stuff went on behind closed doors. All that to say is this. If you follow anything on social media about attachment, there's a guy named Adam Lane Smith who's kind of the emerged as one of the leading voices on attachment theories. And I called him recently and was just like, hey man, walk me through this. Long story short, attachment styles are not in concrete or stone.
Okay.
They're just like like the left lane is for those going faster, and the right lane is for those driving slower.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to. You can drive slower in the left-hand lane. And so you can identify, oh, my body's got an anxious attachment because two of the most important people in my whole world left me when I was a kid. I've got an anxious attachment because my maternal figure, my sister, was really struggling with some dangerous mental health challenges. And I was terrified at the back of that car. And so now you meet somebody and your body starts to sound the alarms because you kind of like them. Just be cognizant of it. Your body's just keeping you safe. It's doing the job right. It's letting you know, hey, Francis, love gets us killed, remember? And you're like trying to grab his hand or something. And it's going to make you as anxious as possible to get you out of that situation. Here, all the things I'm telling you is this. You won't have peace until you decide to stop fighting Francis. Francis is good. Francis is amazing. Francis has survived childhood. Francis survived a psychotic divorce. Francis survived cancer. And now Francis is trying to survive dating in the 21st century.
Yeah.
Right? So when is the right time to tell somebody you have cancer or had cancer? Whenever you freaking want to. When's the time to hold back and not tell them? Whenever you want to. There's no rules.
Okay.
And does the idea of somebody seeing you in an intimate moment with the scars and all, does that freak you out? Does that make you nervous or scared?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Can I do something kind of weird? Kelly is also a breast cancer survivor, has been down the road you were talking about. Kelly, can you come on for a sec?
Yeah. Hey, Francis.
Hey.
Hey. So I'm a few years farther down the road than you. Just a few.
She's so much older than you, Francis.
That's not what I meant. I meant in the breast cancer road. I'm about 3 years farther down the road than you. But you sound a lot like me in the fact that there's a lot of jokes. Because if you're like me, then it's like if I come out front with the jokes, then it lets everybody know I'm okay. And like I'll say the joke before anybody else can, kind of thing. And then it kind of, I feel like it disarms people, and then it probably kind of covers any issue that I have with it. Put it this way, because of scars like you have, I get that. In my house, we call them freaking boobies. So jokes abound. And I'm married, and and I know that, so it's a little different, but I even had issues with it with my husband. I mean, God knows he never said anything. He never would. But I understand the idea of, because it's a femininity thing. I don't look like I thought I would, or like I used to. Something in me, did you have reconstruction?
Yeah.
Okay. But it looks different because there are scars. First of all, I'll tell you, they fade a lot. In the past couple years, might have really faded a lot. So just know that it does fade a lot. And also, my idea is if somebody has a problem with it, they're not who I want to be with.
Yeah.
Clearly.
Yeah.
I know that, that doesn't help with that idea, but I also look at the idea that, you know what, they're never going to sag. And they're going to look great, no matter what, they're going to look great. It's the silver lining.
That's true.
Yeah, it's the silver lining. And so I think your attitude about the jokes and stuff is great because, you have to.
Can I ask Francis, I want to ask Kelly about the jokes on your behalf. And Kelly, you and I have talked about this. Every friend I've ever had that had cancer, went through cancer treatment, always finds himself in a position of making sure everyone else in their life is okay.
So much.
Your job is to make sure all the friends are okay and the coworkers are, oh my gosh. And so I almost feel like jokes become this, it's like chapstick for chapped lips, just to make sure all social situations are cool.
Right.
And I just want to tell, like I want to tell Francis, that's not your job.
But it becomes this because it's everybody else's emotions are exhausting. Taking care of everybody else's emotions. So if I make the joke, we all know that I'm okay. And so they can all relax too.
So it's, okay.
Yeah, because otherwise people don't know what to say. What do we do? What do we say?
Right.
We don't know how to handle this. Okay, I'll make a joke. You'll know I'm okay. We can all go back to our lives.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And then it's like, oh, she's cool. She made
exactly
jokes. Yeah, she's cool. She's fine. She made jokes. We're all good.
And when that one idiot makes the wrong joke, you can say, that's too far. These are my jokes to make.
Yeah, and I'll be like, really?
Yeah.
All right.
And
Yeah.
as Kelly does frequently, she calls HR. So there we go.
If I did that, it would just be a constant conversation.
Kelly's
so I
never
don't.
called HR. She
Nope.
can't. She's not allowed in the building. All right, so Francis.
Yeah. What things should I be working on with a counselor?
Most of the people I've met with over the years who either had cancer or are about to pass from cancer, there's a sense of being betrayed by their own body. We're an embodied experience, and my body did this to me. And so it pulls the tether on just walking through life because you can't trust the one person that you should be able to trust, which is you. And so I think with a counselor, I think being able to talk through learning to trust yourself again. The second thing is not catastrophizing and worst case scenarioing relationships, romantic relationships, dating. It's a mess, right? It's the worst.
Yeah.
And so
It is, and it takes a long time when you're online dating.
ah, jeez. Can I tell
to
you something?
actually figure people out.
I would love you just to go meet people in real life.
Yeah, I know.
You've probably heard me talk about anxiety, and I'll just give you a 2-second quick primer. When you avoid social situations because they make you anxious, your body wins and it actually reinforces the anxiety response. It doesn't want you being around people because you were around your dad and he left. You're around your mom and she went to work. And you're around your sister and she wasn't well. You're around a husband and he tried to kill people. Your body knows people aren't okay. And so when you go to be in a public setting, you go to a local church, you go to a meetup, you go to a small concert, a singer-songwriter thing, you ask a group of colleagues at work, hey, let's go out, whatever weird thing you're into. You join a bowling league. I don't know what you're into, but you do. Your body will try to get your attention and say, don't do this. Look at all the other evidence we have in our life of how this has gone wrong. And if you don't go, your body relaxes and goes, all right, we got her. We know how to keep her from getting hurt again. We just sound these anxiety alarms. And so the only way to get that social anxiety to stop beating your door down is to head right out through it. Sometimes that's putting it on the calendar and getting a close friend. We are going to go to X honky tonk and we're going to dance. We are going to a karaoke night and I will sing 2 songs and I will go home and throw up in my bed, but I'm going to do it, right? But you're practicing putting yourself out there, feeling that anxiety and letting your body know this following statement that's so important. I wasn't okay then, but I'm okay now. I wasn't safe then, but I'm safe now. And that's the other thing you work on with your counselor is exposure. It's the slowly walking towards the anxiety, not from it. I don't think you're broken, Francis. I think you're pretty freaking amazing.
I do some of that. When I go to charity fundraisers, I talk to random people.
Do you say, hey, let's go get coffee sometime, then actually call them and actually go get that coffee?
No, I don't go that far.
Yeah, you should do that. Otherwise, you're going to keep talking to random people and you're going to pass that off as social connection, and it's not.
Okay.
It's a high
gotcha.
five. It's a game that people play at those events to feel like we were with people. You can be lonely in a crowded room. That's been most of your life.
True. That's true.
Can I ask you one more ugly question?
Sure.
What has that got you? Turtling up and choosing loneliness. What has that got you?
Being alone.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Let's choose. We can agree that doesn't work. That's not bringing us peace. That's not bringing us laughter. That's not bringing us warmth, joy, intimacy. It's not bringing us any of those things.
Yep.
So let's go choose to be weird. Let's go choose to be weird. Let's go choose connection. Let's go choose, hey, we're getting cups of coffee, 3 of us, let's go. And one doesn't show up, and so it's just 2 of you. And you say, well, this got real weird. Know any good cancer jokes? don't do that. You'll freak out that poor person. But you're worth connecting with. Fair?
Yeah.
All right, hang on the line. I'm going to send you a copy of Building a Non-Anxious Life, and it's walking through. I want you to begin to follow those six steps, those 6 daily choices. I want you to make them a part of your life, tattoo them on your heart, and make them a part of the way you live. Interact with you. And, man, you're going to make somebody real happy. Somebody who's not into murder. You're going to make them real happy one day. I'm proud of you, Francis. You're a survivor. You're not a survivor. You're a butt kicker, dude. Good job. We'll be right back. Hey, what's up? Delony here. Listen, you and me and everybody else on the planet has felt anxious or burned out or chronically stressed at some point. In my new book, Building a Non-Anxious Life, you'll learn the 6 daily choices that you can make to get rid of your anxious feelings and be able to better respond to whatever life throws at you so you can build a more peaceful, non-anxious life. Get your copy today at johndelony.com. All right, we're back. Kelly, you said you wanted to spring something on me. Go for it.
Calling a bit of an audible today. So for those that don't know, I go through all the emails that we get to the show, and we get about 150 a day. So y'all got things to say. Probably 40 to 50% of those mention a term, whether it be about their spouse. Half the time it's about their mother-in-law, their own parent, or something that I wonder if people are using correctly. Do they understand it? So on. So I wanted to ask you about it. What is a narcissist?
Have you ever looked in a mirror? I'm just playing. You're not a narcissist. You're pretty wonderful. I actually love Brene Brown's definition. The shame-based fear of being ordinary. At the end of the day, it's a pathology. A narcissist is somebody who has no regard for anybody's feelings, concerns, wants, needs, and everything is everything, every interaction is fuel in their engine to get them where they want to go. They will run over people, they will crush people, they will hurt people, and they won't feel bad about it. That is one of the most obnoxiously overused words. If you have... Most people have never been around a true narcissist. They are terrifying.
Because it's an actual diagnosis,
correct?
Correct?
It is a clinical diagnosis.
And it's not just a jerk.
Most people use narcissists on people they don't like, want them to do things that they don't like, or that someone's just a jerk. And they're like, no, your mother-in-law's probably not a narcissist. She just whines a lot. Or that's how she's had to get power in her own house because her husband was an idiot or what. Like you can be an idiot, you can be a jerk, you can be a moron and not a clinical narcissist. Narcissists care about nothing. They are so terrified, deep in their core, that they're like everybody else, and they will burn up everybody in that path. And so there is some narcissism that people who give gifts as a means of control. Look what I did for you, so you're going to, right? But it's all about, they'll even do nice things, but all that is part of the game to get whatever I want and the control of everybody. And I don't care about any. So all that to say is, Just for 99.9% of the time, swap out the word narcissist and just say jerk. And interestingly, I think, Kelly, that's harder to deal with. It's easier to say, my mother-in-law is just a narcissist. It's easier to write her off as some sort of clinical pathology. We do with our kids. Well, my kid's just got ADHD. No, maybe not, right? And so it's easier just to toss a label at them, a clinical diagnostic, and then move on. It's way harder to deal with, my mother-in-law's a jerk, because now I got to deal with that. Now I got to wade into that, right? Most of the time, almost all the time, people are not clinical narcissists. So there you go. If you want more, you can go to johndelony.com. I think I've got a journal article up about it or something like that. But they're probably not a narcissist. They're probably just an idiot. Or maybe they told you something you didn't like. Or maybe they ask you to do things you don't want to do and you just don't like saying no because you don't have any boundaries. You're in control of you. Love you guys. Bye.